Hello, I'm Kirk Risen, International Youth Director, and welcome to Facebook Live. Welcome to on Church of God of Prophecy official page, on YM International's official page, and also on YouTube at YM Media. It's our great pleasure to be with you. We've been out at some conventions and some camps, and we're going to continue to do that through July and August. But we wanted to share with you today, just for a moment, about a resource that we've been sharing for over 2 years now, iLead. And this is adapted from a book that was produced by our guest today. And it is iLead, the Little Black Book of Leadership. We want to bring him to the program right now. Welcome, Stephen Puckett. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, so let's jump right in and let's talk about you and I, where we come from, and how far do we go back? Can you remember the first time we met? What age you were?
Man, I'm trying to remember the first time we met. I mean, how old was I? I was young. I was a lot younger than I am now.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be safe to say I didn't have as much fishing line in my beard. I don't know if I even have a beard then. No, I started growing a beard when I was like 12. So yeah, I did have a beard. I think I was teaching high school, so I would have been fresh out of college, probably 21, 22.
Okay,
now, so close to 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, we don't like to talk about number of years. Sorry, we just say years ago. That's how we put it. Yeah, I can remember coming to see you when you were teaching high school. What were you teaching then?
Whatever they told me to teach, so I could stay gainfully employed. I taught business computer applications, introduction to drafting, pre-engineering. So whatever they needed, I was like, yeah, I'm your man. Just keep sending me a paycheck. Yeah,
I was a youth pastor at Carolina Heights.
Right across the street.
Yeah, you were down the road at Carolina High School, yeah?
Carolina High School and Academy, yep.
And who knew that you were going to leave there and go to, where did you go from there? You went to be a principal?
Oh, well, I went from there and went straight into full-time ministry work for a short stint. I went to work with a church in Kentucky for about 18 months, and simultaneously was working on my master's degree, finishing that up. And then once I finished that up, I jumped back into the secular realm, I guess you could say. Went back into education, and the path, man, just took me from here to there. I went taught middle school, went from high school to middle school, ended up as an assistant principal for 7 years. And I like to say it like this: Joseph was in the prison 7 years and got promoted to the palace. So I did that for 7 years and got promoted to principal. Had the opportunity to open up 2 new schools in the 7 years I was serving as principal in the district that I was in. Man, just time flies. Just stepped into a new role now. I feel like I have the longest title of anyone in America. It feels like I'm the coordinator of athletics, physical education, and arts for Lexington Richland School District 5 in South Carolina.
Yeah, I was thinking we go even further back. I don't know when you were a camper, but I know you worked in the camp that me and Sarah directed.
I think I only wish I knew you then. Like, you were up here and I was like down here.
Well, that's true. That's true for sure. But no, it was, I can remember we used to always be the dean at the upper camp, which usually Chucky was he was the camp director of that. And Richard and Shirley, your father and mother-in-law.
Yes.
Back in the day. And that's back before you were married.
Pretty good people.
And we went through some stuff, at camp together, kids will be kids.
Yes,
there was an incident where they messed up the bathroom one time, and we had to fix that one night.
One time.
Yeah.
Well, that was like every time.
That's probably what pushed you into education, probably so. Hey, but let's talk about iLead. And once again, a few years ago, I came to you and saw this resource that you created and asked for permission to develop it into more of a spiritual look into young people leading or teens leading. Let's talk about what caused you to create iLead?
Well, I think, that seeing that, where this is Christian programming, I think, that I know in my life, probably most of our lives, that most profound journeys that we go on in life, are faith-based journeys. They're birthed from a spiritual place. And this was no exception for me. And to be honest with you, I mean, Kurt, you know my family, my history, like we come from a history, long history and lineage of full-time church work folks. My dad, my grandmother, my great-grandfather, my wife's dad, both my brother-in-laws, all these people, her granddad, all these people were full-time ministry. And I was kind of the one that, the black-headed, the black sheep of the family, I guess you could say. I used to have black hair too, but I shaved all that off. But everybody can't have hair like her.
That is so true, and it is on point today, I would have to say.
It's very sad.
Thank you so much.
So anyways, so yeah, I struggled with that for a long time because I wasn't, even though I would do, traditional ministry work, in the church and local church, it wasn't what I was devoting, my full efforts to, because I was working in a secular job. And I had that crisis of faith. I had that faith-based journey where it really just transcended my thought life to that I needed to be ministry minded, not church minded, to be honest with you. I needed to be ministry minded, and that, ministry happens everywhere, not just in church, but in schools, in businesses, in our daily walk. So to me, it was that point in my life where I realized I need to be pouring all of these God-given vision, all this God-given vision, all these ideas. I need to be trying to incorporate that and infuse that into my job, no matter what that job was. And that was really a game changer for me. It changed everything. It changed the way I looked at everything. It changed the way I treated the people that I worked with. It changed every single interaction that I had with students, with parents, with staff. It just transcended my life because at that point in time, I saw every opportunity as a ministry opportunity. And someone had spoke to me along my journey and told me and said, ministry is not a position; it's a lifestyle. And man, that resonated with me, and it stuck. So iLead was kind of birthed from that. The other side of that, the self-deprecating part of that, is that I was in my office one day complaining and griping to God about me and my position and where I was and how I felt like that I could do so much more. And I would look at people who had positions that I coveted and be like, man, I wish I could do that. I mean, look at what they're doing. I could do better than them. Really, just being totally honest, totally transparent. And there's been a few times in my life where, God, other than audibly speaking, which would have, scared me to death, just clearly, spoke to me and said, why would I do anything else for you when you're sitting on all these gifts and these ideas and potential that's unrealized right now? And then and it's the biblical principle, whoever much is given, much is required. Who is faithful in little, be faithful in big things. And it was like one of those, that aha moment for me, So, and that's when I started with iLead. And to be honest with you, were part of that, Kurt. I mean, I could, in my shelf over here in my office, I could go search for it, put my hand on it, and pull it off. But when we started hanging out with each other, I was a young man, and you were probably one of those first outside my immediate circle. You were probably one of those first men that started a mentorship journey for me, and it wasn't a formal mentorship. And I think that would have scared me. I think it would have scared me if you would have come and said, let's start sitting down and talking about your spirituality. I would have been like, whoa, this guy's a little strange. He got cool hair, but he's a little strange. So it was you did it naturally. You did it through the way you lived and the way you interacted, and you poured into me. And you gave me a hard copy. The very first leadership book that I ever owned was John C. Maxwell's Developing the Leader Within You.
Wow. You
gave it to me. I don't know, or maybe I stole it. I don't know. Either way, I have that book in my possession.
I've been looking for that book, man.
Man, okay. Well, I'll get it back to you. I got multiple copies now, so I can send it back to you.
I'll expect it back.
But I took that book, man, and I started highlighting stuff in that book, and it just came to life. It resonated with me because I'd seen so many rich leaders through my Earlene Emerson, my grandmother, Steve Puckett, my dad, Richard Martin, Kirk Rising. These are people that Chucky Chandler. I know it scares some people, but Chucky Chandler. Just growing up, people who just poured into me, people who took the time to kind of teach me and showed me what it meant to live a faith-based life, and it just I wanted to impart that to other people. That it meant so much to me, and it was so strong in my life, and I wanted to impart that into other people. So I started iLead as a way to create leaders, to disciple leaders, and of course, the whole premise for the curriculum, the whole premise and the idea was birthed from a faith-based position. All the principles, all the characteristics that are being talked about in the book are all biblical principles. So just trying, that's where it started. Wanted to create young men out of boys and young women out of girls.
And, well, I was thinking about your family yesterday. Man, your grandma, she was a fiery preacher, man. And your dad pastored and sang, and Richard and Shirley, of course, they've been pastoring for years there in South Carolina, evangelistic work, across the U.S. And man, what a rich heritage you have. And I didn't know about the book. It's crazy that you do little things in life. I had a young girl write me from Hawaii. She used to be in Hawaii, and I was only 19 years old when I was her youth leader. And she made a statement. She wrote me this long paragraph on Facebook and says, at that time in my life, you came to Hilo, which is the Big Island, and you said to me that I mattered, that I could be something. And that was when she was in maybe she was like 16. And this is when she's in her 30s, already married, had children. And she said, "You're the only one who ever said that to me." And you didn't know you said it, but I said it. I didn't know I gave you the book, but I gave it. And so it's little things like that. I think I view mentorship a little bit the way you just said it. I'm not super intentional about, follow me. But hey, if you see something about my life you like, attach yourself, let's go. I'm here to be with you. Let me ask you a question about, as you develop as iLead, what was your process for doing that?
Like I said, it started, of course, with all biblical principles, things that, I just saw that young people someone needed to intentionally teach them. I think a lot of times we take for granted, we assume that kids get things. I know I've been in many situations where, kids will do something and the adults that are around the situation are like, "Can you believe they did that?" And, and the reality is, yeah, especially if no one ever taught them anything different, especially if that's the toxic environment that they just came from, where everybody does that and it's a norm. Yeah, I can totally believe they did that. They're just being true to themselves, I wish everybody could be that honest and transparent with their lifestyles,
Sure.
if they're in the right way. So it started, just picking out those topics, and it was really done, boots on the ground, so to speak, because you didn't start with a book. I started with, man, what am I talking about next week?
Mm-hmm.
And then sitting down, developing that lesson, from the things that I was currently seeing in our kids and the things I knew they would benefit from. And eventually, after I kept, carving out these topics, and I realized, okay, there's a system here. There's some cohesiveness to this. And as opposed to me trying to go and run off copies, every so many weeks or every so many months or every so many, every year to put this in kids' hands, why don't we go ahead and make it a lot easier, put it bound in one place, and that way you can just give them out anytime we need to. So it was grassroots and kind of grew from there. But it was proven to me because it was things that were personal, that were biblical, and it was things that were relevant to the kids at that time, and still relevant. A lot of those, most of those principles are timeless principles, biblical principles that still ring true today. Whether or not you're a person of Christian faith or not, there's still principles that work. Like humility, discipline, integrity, courage. Those are things that have stood the test of time, that no matter what line of work or field you're in, if you do these things, then you're going to be more successful than you were if you weren't using them. And that's just the beauty of the Bible, the wisdom of the Bible. It's the beauty.
But you've gone from teaching to being a principal at this time, right? When you wrote this,
Yeah, I was an assistant principal.
assistant principal.
At the time when I did
Okay,
that.
and you're and the principles. Let me just read through the principles here real quick. They're the same in both manners, discipline, courage, integrity, initiative, gratitude and service, enthusiasm, perseverance, humility, purpose, and don't believe the lies. And finally, you end up with the most important words. And so, was there something you're not seeing in the development? You weren't seeing in the development of teens or young people that you thought that these subjects would help them be better humans, better teens, better leaders?
Of course. I mean, first and foremost, I think that we live in just a product of man. We're all, a part of this, and we probably have been responsible for making it this way to a certain degree, but we're a product of our culture and environment many times, and especially in America where everything's about me. And I could definitely see that. And as kids, and as younger, it takes time to develop character, in my opinion. I don't think that, as a 3-year-old's born with character.
Sure.
Kids because it's something you have to develop over time, and it's done by the decisions that you make, that you consistently make over time, that leads to character.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so rare to find a young person with really true depth of character, because it takes time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was taking these biblical principles and applying them in a real life context. That was what made the difference. I've had people, when I presented this, you're talking about teaching humility to kids. I mean, that's a word that a lot of times in our society is almost forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And try to teach a kid what humility is. But as we started, trying to do that, you could tell that it was helping. And it comes back to the biggest thing that I saw. It was our kids were selfish. We were self-centered. We focused on me. We focused on what I wanted. And to be a true leader, and Jesus, showed this. To be the best leaders are those who, at the core of who they are, they're servants. Jesus, said that. He showed it time and time again. So to me, that was the heart of iLead in general. Is in order to be a leader, you have to first submit yourself to serving others, and that was the whole intent of the principles in the program. That was the intent of the structure that surrounds the program. We would try to do service projects in and around the school. We would try, to get kids to do them at home. By doing service logs, so they could kind of be intentional about what am I doing at home that leads back and points back to being a leader in this program. So that was, and in the community at large.
And children, of course, when they got to you as an assistant principal or principal, certainly they had attitude, but attitude is learned just by their environment, mostly. And then you're turning them around, trying to create in them maybe things that were certainly missing, like manners, like discipline. Those things go beyond culture, the culture of the home, the culture of the parent. And that's another thing that you did is you made leaders, teachers, and also parents responsible for being a part of this. Tell us a little bit about how you did that.
Well, that was at the height when the program was kind of getting a more traction, and just kind of people were was a high level of interest in what it was. And, it was not that it was something new, because I think there's a lot of programs that exist. They have the same premise of what iLead is. Essentially trying to build leaders, trying to help young men realize their worth and potential, and the same thing for young ladies. So that model and that program is nothing unique, in my opinion. It was just kind of my spin on it, and it was personal to me. I think the thing so I started presenting, this to some people and casting the vision, in different avenues. And I thought, a good way to be able to show this process, and, if anyone would like to do it, is to just document, the steps that we took, the journey that we took, and really reemphasizing that that it's going to be unique in every situation. I just don't feel like anything that we do can be a copy of something else. There, because it loses its authenticity. It needs to be authentic, and that is birthed from a place of vision, a place of passion, and you doing the work and creating it as you go. But the field manual gives examples of that, and just like any good collaborator, as an adult, you beg, steal, and borrow, and use in a legal way, and refine ideas and tweak ideas to make it yours and make it better.
Yeah, you have in the field manual, first things first. Give me a sentence about first things first. What was that?
First things first. I mean, this speaks to priority. In my opinion, and I still do that now. When you're starting, the educator in me, when you're starting to engage an audience and starting to engage people, we got to know what the intention is here. What's the learning, and what is most important about the learning. So to me, it always starts with highlighting what is the most weighty premise, or the most weighty thing that you're trying to communicate, because and coming back to that hidden, I believe in the power of repetition. So let's keep first things first. Talk about it, get it out in front, and then you revisit it through all the other principles that you're communicating along the way.
And how about the essential tenets? What are the essential tenets?
Oh, what does it say? I forgot.
It's been so long, what I'm saying? It's been so long. You've got, I'm trying to, some of the other things that are there, besides the essential tenets, being you weren't going to answer that one. You have service opportunities. So service is a big part of iLead.
Yeah, well, that's the whole intent, is to make sure that kids know that it's not just about head knowledge. It's about the application of the knowledge, which leads to true wisdom. And like, once again, being repetitive, leadership is about, being a servant. It's about service. The best leaders are those that serve other people, that take their time, and it's not totally focused on me, but focused on how can I help others. But a leader does that. Leader realizes that I have the power, I have the influence to be able to help and encourage and make life better for others. And I say that in the book to the kids. Real easy, real simple is leaders. You are a leader. No matter whether you want to be or not. We all are. That's that whole John C. Maxwell premise. Leadership is influence. So that I always tell them, through videos, through lessons, through the book. It's not, the question is, am I a leader? The question is, what kind of leader am I going to be? Because you are one. And I put it to them real simple like this in kid-friendly language. It says, people who are a negative leader, they use their influence to hurt. But leaders who are positive leaders use their influence to help, and make life easier and better for others.
Yeah, I think the amazing thing was to me is when, and the very reason that I even contacted you about the material is that when I began developing this, when I first came into this position, this is level 1 YM certification. This will be going on 8 years ago. The main tenets of this was love God with all your heart, and then love and serve others. Bring them into the same relationship that you have with God. You love people, you love God, so bring them into that relationship. And so when I looked at your material, I saw the same principles, being lived out here. And the great thing about this is that I don't think there's one scripture in here.
Yeah.
But the principles of God's word is in here. And so to be a light in a dark world, in a place that in America you cannot talk so openly about your faith, it was so beautiful for me to see that you could take the principles of God's word and bring it into the classroom, bring it into the club, and to not only speak about who you are, about being a leader, you can also serve and show that you're a leader. And
that's crucial. It's crucial. And that goes back to probably one of my favorite phrases, here recently, is being ministry minded. That it's not about a position. It's not about a title. It's about the lifestyle. And I've had people, when I've been able to present this, I've had people when I finished, to come up to me and say, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." I can tell from the topics of this book. And then I've had, someone, probably one of the greatest compliments, to me that someone can give me is I've had a lady, I've had someone, tell me, I just want you to know that I don't go to church, but I consider you my school pastor.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I'll accept that. That's a good compliment, and I latched onto that because coming from, I don't know if anyone else has ever struggled with that, but coming from someone who's trying to figure out your way in life and what you're supposed to be doing, and the journey that I've found in iLead's just been a part of that.
Yeah.
Just to know that, man, I'm going to get lots of opportunities in the church and outside the church to minister, and if I've got to embrace that ministry mindset if I'm going to be able to do it effectively for the kingdom.
Yeah, it's amazing because I talked about earlier that a child certainly brings attitude to the classroom, to their overall learning experience, but to learn the principles that are in iLead tends to shift that attitude towards a place of wanting to not only help themselves but help others. And of course, Jesus said, two greatest commandments are to love God with all your heart, and then love and serve your neighbor. And so for them to get those principles as being biblical is really about what we're supposed to be doing in this world that we live in. Anything that we are, any place that we work, whatever we choose to do in life, it should reflect a testimony that is within us.
So true. So true. And I want to just, Kurt, you've always embodied that. I think that's, when I think of people who have been successful, in our culture and the ever changing, the rate in which it exponentially changes as far as the way the kids are and the different generation of learners and what they're exposed to. That's one thing that I admire about you is you've always been able to reinvent yourself. You've always been able to stay relevant and stay current and connect with people. That's exactly you. So kudos to you, man.
Well, man, I'm going to have you on more because you just make me feel good. Okay, you say stuff, and I'm like, didn't know it, but that's cool. I like it. Hey,
I believe in those daily mint, encouragement and compliment.
Oh, very cool. Say that again so everybody can hear it.
We all need a daily mint, encouragement and compliment.
Man, I like that. We're going to put that on a Instagram post right after the show. Okay. How did you, now I was privileged to be in one of your, now it wasn't a school assembly. It was actually kids who have become a part of the iLead program. So let's talk about how did you, not the principles, let's talk about how did you implement iLead in schools here in America?
Oh man, it starts grassroots, and I started with 10 little guys in, 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with anything, you grow it and you grow it small. So over a course of a few years, we were able to grow it from just 10 boys to actually including boys and girls. I think what people liked is they liked the outcome. They liked the kids, liked it. And of course, like I said, taking one out of your playbook is I want to stay current with the culture. And what's more current and relevant than free food? So when they signed up for iLead, we had a partnership with Chick-fil-A at the time, and every day they catered every one of our meetings.
Oh wow!
So then we had the partnership, with pizza, and so we had you feed them, they will come. It was kind of the mantra, but it was that's right. So you got it. Trying to be wise about it. We grew it, locally at our school. Like I said, I had the opportunity to, because of the growth and where I was, to open up an additional school. And when I did that, we kind of naturally grew the program with us there. And then just, tried to use any level of influence that I would have had with just colleagues, and it goes back to relationships. So how did it get implemented in schools? I'm going to be honest with you, relationships. Because, I could have been a salesman, which I'm not. I could have, begged, stealed and borrowed and asked people to please do this. And I think the only reason why it grew from 10 boys to multiple boys and girls and sections and groups and in multiple schools, and then doing it pretty much at every elementary school in our district. Was the only reason we were able to do that is because of the relationship. I valued my colleagues, the other principals in my district. So I think that because of the relationship, there was a level of trust, and the relationship led to the trust. So when I approached them about it, it wasn't dismissed. It wasn't, looked at something someone else is asking me to do. It was, relationship, trust. And then when you add on that it was just a passion. And I think it struck a chord with other people. I mean, who in the right mind don't want kids to be great? Who in the right mind don't want to give kids something else extra to give them the best chance to be successful? I mean, sure. You're going to start being, the outcast if you say, I don't participate in this. So it's that positive peer pressure where, man, if they're going to do it, get on board with it. I probably need to do it too. So it was just the timing was right, for us to be able to get everybody on board and do it, at all at once. So that's the way we did that. And then after we got it set up in multiple sessions, we're like, how cool would it be to extend beyond this and actually be able to treat these kids and show them the power of collective influence and collective positive energy by bringing all these kids together from different schools. And so we started, well, like you said, the iLead Summit, which you came and you brought, you've come attended and spoke. You brought people in to attend and speak in the past. And I think the last one we had 1,100 plus students and staff, sponsors or whatever attend those summits. And it's just we tried to make it a high energy, high dose of leadership and life lessons that these kids could take back with them and hopefully help transcend them, in their lives to a higher place as leaders and as people.
So let me ask you. So I'm going to throw you a curveball on a question. How would some of these that are watching or who will see this later on, any advice on how they could get this club started in their school? Especially we're talking about, the United States, but is there any way that, to get that started?
Yeah. First and foremost, from a place of faith, you pray that God would open the doors. So that's where it's going to start. Anytime that you put God in, and you put His kingdom first, and let it be about, putting His kingdom first, then the return is going on an investment is going to be, exponentially more, just because you got the Creator, the all powerful, kind of helping you direct things, open the doors that need to be open, close them if they need to be closed. I think it starts with prayer and being wise about it. I think that you have to have leadership on board. And some people may be sitting in that seat where they are the leadership, so they can say, "Yeah, I can do this. I can implement this now." But the reason why I think we had so much success in the district that I was in was because there was support from the top up. So the top coming down. So when the principals got on board, and you have a person in authority there saying, "We're going to do this." I think that creates more of a win-win situation when you have the support from the top up. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think it starts with the relationship. So you are that leader and you can implement it and leverage your relationships you have with people to implement it. Or if you're on the bottom side of the org chart and you're working up, once again you leverage the relationship that you have with your superiors or with your direct, those who you direct report to, or you can come in and say, "Look, this is powerful. This is where it's being birthed from. I want to be involved with this, blah, blah, blah," that kind of thing. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Very cool. It's, it was amazing to me to see the numbers that you had. Can you give us is it the pledge you did every day? What was that pledge that you did in club meetings? Do you remember it?
I'm a leader. I accept responsibility and ownership for my actions and my words. I will not make excuses for poor decisions. Every day I will strive to be a leader in what I do and what I say. I will live my life with discipline, courage, and integrity. I am a leader. You
did, man, just brought it right back.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's so cool. Well, and now that you've now, is this still available on Amazon?
Yeah, that one's still available on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure in the notes to give you that link for getting this book. Once again, this is iLead, the Little Black Book on Leadership. Also, if you'd like the iLead, which is from here at the international offices, we can connect you with both, and we would love to get that into your hands. And let's see, we've got a video we're going to try to show. Now, I haven't had the most success on StreamYard with video, but now that you've moved from being a principal, you're now what? What's your position?
I'm a coordinator role, basically serving as a support and a point of contact for different disciplines for the entire district that I'm working with. So I'm coordinating athletics, physical education, and the arts, which includes visual, performing arts.
And set up this video for us real quick. Let's see if we can show that.
Okay, we're all living the pandemic, and so when the pandemic started, when it began, Jessica and I, my wife Jessica, hey Jessica, you're awesome, amazing, beautiful. When we were sitting we were sitting in the living room, and she said, "Stephen, you should do a video like that." So most of my good ideas start with Jessica. To be honest with you, I'm gonna give props to her. She's a lot more creative and brilliant than I am. I just kind of take them and run with them. But she said that, and then I started kind of thinking, what, that would be great. And that song popped in my head that I could take and rewrite the lyrics. There was a lot of social anxiety. I think parents were worried about their kids going to school, everybody having a mask on, and everybody was scared about the virus. So I was like, what, let's spin this and let's come up with a fun way to communicate. We'd already knew the protocols that we were being mandated to implement. So if we knew we had to do it, let's spin it. Let's make it fun, make it a little less intimidating for, 5-year-olds all the way up to 5th grade kids, because that's the school that I was in at the time. So this was a parody video that I did. I rewrote the lyrics to Beat It. And it just kind of worked out. And it kind of went viral there for a minute. I think it was like 20-something thousand views, that kind of thing. So it's my second claim to fame.
It's super good. Let's just hope that there's no hiccups with it. All right, let's check it out. And what's this called? Clean It.
Clean It with Coach P.
Clean It with Coach P, Coach Puckett. Let's check it out.
Don't want Corona to come around here, so when you get to school, gonna take your temperature. We wanna keep you safe, so keep your mask on your face and clean it, just clean it. Next you should go directly to class. Don't be afraid when you see the mask. Keep a smile on your face and keep washing your hands. Just clean it, just clean it, just clean it, clean it. Corona gonna be defeated. Remember, keep your distance, not giving high fives. Remember, no hugging, just give them the eyes and clean it, clean it, and clean it, clean it. It's not an earring and it's not a chin strap. It's not a necklace, not even a hat. So cover your nose and you cover your mouth and clean it, just clean it. Wash your hands correctly, make sure to be wise. Keep your hands away from your face and sanitize. Stay in your personal space and keep that mask on your face and clean it. Cause you wanna be clean, clean it, clean it. Corona gonna be defeated. Remember, keep your distance, not giving high fives. Remember, no hugging, just give them the eyes and clean it, clean it. Corona gonna be defeated. Remember, keep your distance, not giving high fives. Remember, no hugging, just give them the eyes and clean it, just clean it, clean it, just clean it, clean it, just clean it, clean it, just clean it.
What a great principle, man, that would do something like that. Just clean it. You know, we get a lot, we have a lot of parents and older people who need to see that video. That's for sure. When did you do that last year, or when was that you created that?
Yeah, I guess that was 1 year ago. They seem to, you know how it is. Like this last year for people working in schools, it felt like an eternity. I guess, you know, because people were so ready for it just to be over. But yeah, I guess it would have been 1 calendar year ago. That's when we shot it out.
Can we make that available for everybody to look at? Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's and let me say something to leaders. If you would like to use the video, just let us know, and we'll make that available to you. But that's produced, danced, acted, and everything by one of us. Okay, Church of God of Prophecy, and we want to thank God for you, Stephen. Thank you for your time today, for your heart, how that you developed iLead and you made it available to us to use. And we just thank God for your ministry. And let me say about you, you know, I've watched you in life and watched you walk through life. And whether you know it or not, you become a person who teaches me, because I try to, my relevance is only in the fact that I watch your life and I can apply some of the things I see you doing back into me. And so you may see a new Clean It video coming out soon from the old international youth director. You never know. You never know.
Well, no doubt if you do whatever you do, it'll be done with excellence, because you always just take it up a notch.
Yeah, I think my what's it called, the dance, I can't think of the slide, what's it called?
The moonwalk.
You know, my moonwalk's a little better.
Hey, well, that's the power of video editing. You just speed it up real quick, and it makes you look like you're doing something.
You did look great, that's for sure. But hey, man, listen, thank you so much. And if I can say anything to you, I love you. I appreciate once again, your life, your ministry, your family. They've been dear to me. And I thank God for the Martins and Jessica, and just now that you're a father and moving on in life, it makes me proud to have had a small part in your life. And we just thank God for what you're doing and being a light in a dark world. Before we leave, is there any advice that if there was let's put it up here. If you could give advice to parents who desire their child to be more community minded, what would it be? What would you say to them?
Well, the funny thing about it is, you know, I'll give you my answer, which, you know, will be a novice answer. But afterwards, I think you should answer this, because my children are still in the clinical trial phase. You know, Daniel's 12 and Emerson's 8. You know, so I would say, you know, looking at you, you know, looking at, you know, I know for sure Carlos, you know, because he's come and helped us out with our iLead Summit, you know, as well, and everything, and trying to follow him from a distance, you know, what he's doing. I think, you know, you would probably be better apt to answer that than me. I speak from a place of working, you know, in the field of education and church work, and just, you know, over the years in different capacities. The advice, I mean, I think it all goes back to the word, you know, and I've, you know, we've heard this verse, you know, Deuteronomy 6:6-7. You know, and he starts out in that verse, you know, these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. I think if we're going to impact, as a parent, if we're going to impact our kids, it's got to be in our heart first. It's got to be important to us. The heart is, the Bible refers to the heart, it refers to the center of your being, your person. You know, so if we want our children, and, you know, the kids coming, you know, in our steed, posterity to be community minded, we got to show it to them too. It's got to come from a place of the heart, of course, you know, because that's just going to spill over into them. It's impossible for me to impart something as a leader or a parent to my kids or the people around me if I don't exhibit that first. I mean, it can't flow through to them if it doesn't flow through me first. You know, so if starting with the heart, and then of course it is teaching. And that's the next part of that verse. It says, "Teach them diligently to your children." And you know as well as I do, that's every day. You know, no matter, and you're looking for those opportunities. I tell you, you know, I got the opportunity the last decade or more to sit under Pastor Gary Atkins there, you know, in Rock Hill Church. he's always been a master to me of taking real life, simple, applicable situations and making it profound lessons. So I've tried to do that myself and think about the opportunities and the times when something happens, and I kind of hit the proverbial pause button. Hey, Nathaniel, this is why we don't do such and such, or this is a good example of why we do those things. So you're trying to explicitly teach them. I've got to be, and you hit it perfect. I mean, love God, love others. That's what it's about. I mean, we don't make it any harder than it has to be. Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and strength, and then love others. Love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, that is it. That's the power of God's word and what He lays out for us as Christians. But the last thing, is just you got to be an example. You got to model it. So you got to get in your heart. You got to teach it explicitly. But when your words and your actions don't meet up, that's when your kids and any other young person is going to call it for what it is, and that's a fake. So you're going to have to make sure that you walk it. And I've tried to do that in just simple ways. Just the times that we were able to serve or help somebody, or and praying for wisdom about when I'm supposed to reach out to people or talk to people about Christ, or try to be God's hands and the hands and feet of Christ in the world that we live in. And your kids see that, and it'll be the things that stick with them if you do that.
Amen. It's you say I should be the one answering that question, and of course we always evaluate as parents if we're making a difference, what we feel like is making a difference. And I just, as I look at my children, I see things where I succeeded in doing some things, and even my failures. And hopefully us as parents, as we learn through our failures, if we can look at them that way, it'll help us later on in life, because I don't care how old they are, you're still parenting, and praying that, they become the parents, a better parent than we are. And when all that fails, I always say, thank God for their mother. That's what I say. Thank God for their mama. And once again, thank you, Stephen, for being with us today. Don't leave us. Let me just say to everybody out there, if you want to know anything about Youth Ministries International, go to yminternational.org. If you want to know anything about training, go to ymcertification.org. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you next time here on Facebook Live. God bless you. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Good to be here, guys.